ادھر تو ہی تو ہے جہاں میں خدایا تیرا رنگ و بو ہے جدھر دیکھا میں نے زمین آسماں سب تو نے بنائے زمین آسماں سب تو نے بنائے یہ دریا سمندر تو نے بہائے یہ دریا سمندر تو نے بہائے کرم تیرا میرے خدا کو بکو ہے کرم تیرا میرے خدا کو بکو ہے کرم تیرا میرے خدا کو بکو ہے جدھر دیکھا میں نے ادھر تو ہی تو ہے جدھر دیکھا میں نے ادھر تو ہی تو ہے جدھر دیکھا میں نے ادھر تو ہی تو ہے جہاں میں خدایا تیرا رنگ و بو ہے جدھر دیکھا میں نے تو شاہوں کا شاہ ہے تو سب کا خدا ہے تو شاہوں کا شاہ ہے تو سب کا خدا ہے تو ہی مستحق حمد و ثنا ہے تو ہی مستحق حمد و ثنا ہے تجھے نہ کوئی غم نہ خوف عدو ہے تجھے نہ کوئی غم نہ خوف عدو ہے تجھے نہ کوئی غم نہ خوف عدو ہے جدھر دیکھا میں نے ادھر تو ہی تو ہے جدھر دیکھا میں نے ادھر تو ہی تو ہے جدھر دیکھا میں نے ادھر تو ہی تو ہے جہاں میں خدایا تیرا رنگ و بو ہے جدھر دیکھا میں نے یہ پھل پھول بوٹے تیرے ہی دم سے یہ پھل پھول بوٹے تیرے ہی دم سے یہ رونق جہاں کی تیرے کرم سے یہ رونق جہاں کی یہ رونق جہاں کی تیرے کرم سے تیرا جلوہ جلوہ نما چار سو ہے تیرا جلوہ جلوہ نما چار سو ہے تیرا جلوہ جلوہ نما چار سو ہے جدھر دیکھا میں نے ادھر تو ہی تو ہے جدھر دیکھا میں نے ادھر تو ہی تو ہے جدھر دیکھا میں نے ادھر تو ہی تو ہے جہاں میں خدایا تیرا رنگ و بو ہے جدھر دیکھا میں نے یہاں ہے وہاں ہے نہاں ہے عیا ہے یہاں ہے وہاں ہے نہاں ہے عیا ہے تو اول تو آخر تو درمیاں ہے تو اول تو آخر تو اول تو آخر تو درمیاں ہے تو پردے کے پیچھے تو ہی روبرو ہے تو پردے کے پیچھے تو ہی روبرو ہے تو پردے کے
Okay, hello, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Ismail Sakrani and you're joining us today at Munadil Islam radio station. You can call the studio if you've got any pressing questions that you want to ask. The telephone number here is 0116 462 2506. You can text us or WhatsApp us at 07510 769997, or you can email munadilislam@gmail.com, and you can listen online at www.munadilislam.com, or you can watch us on Facebook. And today I have Shortcut Adam Patel joining us from the Leicester branch of MEND. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Brother Shortcut.
Wa alaikum assalam, Brother Ismail, and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to all our listeners back home. Alhamdulillah, it's really wonderful to be here with you tonight.
Alhamdulillah, we like to welcome you to the show. Just a quick introduction. You obviously are the chairperson for the MEND Leicester branch, but your history, you've been a Manchester boy in terms of your university, and you studied optometrics.
Yeah, at Manchester University.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. And you have a few branches across the Midlands, keeping you busy. You're also doing a postgraduate course, currently at Cardiff University.
Yeah.
What are you actually studying?
It's in clinical optometry, so
Mashallah,
just
mashallah.
making my skills even better.
No, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. They say you never stop learning, right?
Yeah,
You never
absolutely.
stop learning. And when you've got some time on your hands, you're also the on the Shura Council for Dar Al Akam Educational Trust in Leicester as well.
Yeah, it's a masajid in the Humberston area of Leicester.
Superb. And if that wasn't enough, you're a proud father of 3 young children.
MashaAllah, yeah, alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah. 2 boys and a girl.
Yeah, a girl and 2
Mabruk,
boys,
mabruk,
mashallah.
MashaAllah. So tell me, Shaukat, you represent MEND. What is actually MEND? What does it stand for?
Hey, Jazakallah. Well, first of all, I think we can start with what MEND stands for,
Yeah.
Muslim Engagement and Development. So I suppose the clue is in the name. We're a Muslim organization which emphasizes and concentrates on engaging the Muslim community and developing the Muslim communities. There's certain sectors that we concentrate more on than others. We're obviously not everything to everybody, but we try to do a few things very, very well. So what we try to do is get the Muslim community to engage as much as possible in the matters that affect us the most in today's day and age, I should say. So the majority of the cases that we involved ourselves in is the media, political situations, and legislations that affect the Muslim community directly. So it's a very wide breadth that we cover.
Quite a wide-reaching remit that you have, and that will certainly keep you busy. I mean, in terms of MEND itself, I mean, it's not an old organization by any means, is it? It's set up originally in 2014.
Yeah, it's a relatively new organization in its modern format.
Yeah.
Initially, it used to be known as I Engaged,
Okay.
but MEND has only been around roughly for 2 years, of which I've been a volunteer for less than 2 years.
Yeah.
So, alhamdulillah, Leicester MEND has just been running for under 2 years. I attended my first meeting the latter part of 2 years ago.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. And it actually took me very nicely onto my next question with you, Shaukat, and that is exactly why did you join MEND?
Yeah, that's a question I get asked quite often, and alhamdulillah. What it is, as a Muslim, I grew up in this country, as you know very well. Went to the masajid just around the corner here in Jami Mosque, went to the local schools, and educated here, settled here, run my business here. My children are British, and alhamdulillah, there's an affinity for this country. A genuine affinity for this country. We're very fortunate to live here. The people of this country on the whole are lovely. Growing up, there's been a sea change. There's been a change in attitude. There's been a change in the atmosphere around Muslims. And as a person that lives here, works here, interacts with the non-Muslim community on a daily basis, so I get up in the morning, I get into my car and I turn on my radio. And I listen to Radio 5 Live, or I listen to Radio 4, or I listen to any other radio show. And there was a time when there wasn't, or even till today, there's not a single show that they do not talk about Muslims in a negative manner.
Absolutely.
Whether that was initially, you would see about faraway places that I've never been to, but still concerning Muslims, and majority, unfortunately, in a negative light.
Yes.
You get to work, you pick up the newspaper, you have staff members who read certain newspapers, and there is every other page or every other newspaper has got a negative story about Muslims. You talk to some of your patients, some of your clients, not knowing that you're a Muslim. Repeatedly you hear stories of misinformation about Muslims. You go home, unfortunately, and you switch on the television and you see stories about Muslims. And this is every day. I don't think there's anybody listening today that can deny that this is the case.
Absolutely.
So sitting there, you think, oh, well, this isn't right, or who is this person to represent us, or who is this. Then I thought that by me sitting here and just complaining is not making a change.
Absolutely.
So alhamdulillah, coming from a family that I do, we're quite proactive. We write the odd email, we write the odd letter of complaint if we see something or hear something that we completely and totally disagree with. But there was absolutely no concerted organization that I knew of that was doing this on a mass basis, on a very not intellectual but correct manner. So speaking the language that people understand.
Absolutely.
Legal language, technical language, etc., etc. And that, hence, one of my friends introduced me to MEND and said, Shoks, you might be interested in this organization. So I attended my first meeting where there was about 3-4 of us, and that's how it began.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. And Shaukat, you're quite right that it has, the way the society has gone, it has changed a lot. I mean, obviously, we grew up in the the early 80s and late 80s. There was no such talk about Islam in the way that it is. You know, you played in the playgrounds, you enjoyed yourself, and life was just one big joke. And it has changed a lot. And more importantly, it's changed quite dramatically for our children. You know, our children don't have the means, the equipment to deal with all of this negativity that's been portrayed every single place that you go, and in schools and in playgrounds and in workplaces. It is a constant battle. You know, we hear, I mean, myself as well, I hear a lot of younger brothers and sisters telling me that, you know, they heard this on at work, somebody said this and somebody said that, and we're always getting messages telling us that, oh, you know, this happened to this person or that happened to that person. And you're right, we needed a platform, somebody that can give us the tools necessary to talk in a proper fashion, you know, in a way that is understandable, coherent, and there's some kind of strategy behind the way that we discuss it. Because alhamdulillah, we've been here for a very long time. We've been here for a number of years. We drive industry. I mean, you're in business. You're paying taxes. You're employing people, and like so many other Muslim people in the community. So we do give a lot into the society. We do give into the British public. Myself, I've grown up here, but that seems to be kind of getting brushed under the carpet because mainstream media seem to be ignoring all the kind of advantages of the Muslim community. In regards to the Brexit vote, there was always negativity even before the Brexit vote. But how has the vote on leaving the EU
absolutely. If you don't mind me going back to a previous point that you made.
Yes.
Look, Brother Ismail, we're absolutely right. The Muslim community is statistically the most generous community in this country in terms of donation. Okay, we give more money than any other community. Very surprising, you might find this, or you may not find this. A recent survey found that the Muslim community, out of all the ethnic communities, except the Sikh community, are the most loyal community to the British, to the United Kingdom. They feel more British than any other ethnic community does. So that is remarkable. We're pioneers in business. We thrive. We pay our taxes. We're available in sports industry. In every industry, you will find Muslims. But we do have to look at ourselves sometimes, and there is always room for improvement. But that may be a discussion for another day.
Yeah.
But alhamdulillah, on the whole, the Muslims are maybe not very good at selling ourselves and how much we contribute to society, how much we contribute to the British society. But frequently, and the main thing, and one of the reasons that when you asked me why I joined Men is, like you said in the beginning, I have 3 children. I have 3 children, and we grew up in a country where being a Muslim, we were very proud to be Muslims, and we weren't ashamed of being Muslims in any shape or form. Now, alhamdulillah, because of the conversations that are going on, it's very binary. You're either with us or against us, and that's what they're trying to push us into. And my fear is, and alhamdulillah in Leicester we're very fortunate, so we may not see it as often, but up and down the country, people are embarrassed. People are ashamed of being Muslims because they've been painted with the same brush as people somewhere around the world who have political agendas, political violence ideologies, and yet they combine it with Islam.
Of course.
And that is a genuine fear that my 3 children can turn up when they grow up and turn around and say to me, Dad, you had all these masajid, you had these madrasas, you had everything. What did you do to preserve your Islam in this country?
Oh,
and how will I face them?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think these are very, very trying times. You know, as a community, we've not had a conversation about this. We've certainly not spoken to our younger community people within the community and given them the tools to be able to address this. You know, we grew up in a time when, you know, it was only the color of your skin that was the problem. You know, you were called various names because of your color of skin. It was never religion. You know, and we found that hard. You know, we became. You know, we walked around with broad shoulders. We were able to take it, but it was just because the color. Now it's every aspect of your life. You know, from your name to what you eat, where you worship, every single thing. And our kids don't have the tools for that. In fact, most of the Muslim population don't have the tools for that because we've never had this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. And talking on children, sorry, Brother Ismail, to interrupt you there. Talking on children, a Childline, an NSPCC reported last year, I think it was a 2014, I may be wrong, it could be a 2013 figure, 69% increase in children ringing Childline, of Muslim children ringing Childline, because they're being bullied at school. They've been called terrorists, suicide bomber, jihadi, go back to your country, solely on the base of their religion.
Absolutely. And it's a shocking statistic when you think about it. And the thing is that as parents, we're not having these discussions with our children. You know, the children are kind of, I'm focusing a little bit on kids at the moment, but as a community.
As we should do.
As an adult, you know, I've got the tools to be able to stand my ground. If it's happening in the workplace environment, you know, we're a little bit more equipped than a child is. And I think that's important that people who are listening in understand that, you're going to have these hard conversations with our kids. We're going to have to sit down with them and ask them, are you being teased? Are you hearing these conversations?
Absolutely.
Because they are taking place in the school
very
environment.
important that we have workshops, and that leads us, although this wasn't set up this way, it leads us very nicely that we actually organise bullying workshops.
Yeah.
So recognising just generic bullying, because there was a very sad story in Leicester recently of a child whose parents were completely oblivious to the fact that their child was he was young, he was perfectly good-looking little boy, clever, intelligent, smart, and he was bullied. He was bullied relentlessly that he killed himself.
Yeah, and this is the thing, that there is no specific sign from our children. You've got kids, I've got kids as well. Sometimes, we don't see the signs there, and the only way that we're going to be able to get closer to them and make them understand and give them that supporting role that as a parent we need to be, is really to sit down and have the conversations with them. So those of you that are listening in, those of you who are watching us live, please do call in. The studio number here again is 0116 462 2506. If you've got any questions, if you've got any of your own experiences, if you felt this little bit of anxiety, if you're worried about anything, if you're worried about your child as well in your school, if you believe that your child is facing some kind of bullying issues or anything like that in regards to this, then do give us a call in. You can even text or WhatsApp us. It's 07510 769997. You can listen online, and you can even send us a message online. We're live on Facebook and on YouTube as well. So please do give us a call in. But the Shaukat, diverting off a little bit, in all this busy work schedule that you have, how do you find time to spend a little bit of quality time with the kids?
Yeah, alhamdulillah, they have from in the evening, by the time you pick them up from madrasa and have the dinner, it is quite late, but we do make time at least a couple of times a week to just spend with the children and the family. It's absolutely essential. Because in all these things you can forget what's the main focus in life.
And it's a balancing act.
Yeah, it's a balancing act.
Yeah, it is. And I think that children thrive on the fact that a mum and dad experience, and even a dad to son experience. We were talking last week just about that quality time that we can spend. And here in Leicester in particular, there's loads of different activities that the council have put on for mums and for daughters and for dads as well. Thursday night they do a fantastic swimming session for dads and boys. I went along last week to my first session. It was fantastic, and those are the kind of things that sometimes a child needs, that kind of that one-to-one situation, away from everybody, away from home, to allow them just to come out with their shell a little bit.
Yeah, and it's amazing what they can come up with, and it's quite surprising what they can startle you with.
No, exactly. And I think that side of parenthood certainly gets missed out sometimes. We're in such a busy world at the moment. We are constantly on the go, but we have to make time away from the home as well. It's not just a case of
as we were saying earlier, we haven't seen each other for 25, 30 years, and how time flies. And our children are growing up at such a rapid rate that they won't be children for much longer, so we have to enjoy them and nurture them as much as we can.
So tell me, Shaukat, what's essentially the most important reason why we should be engaging with the media? You're an organisation, you've got skills, you've got professionalism, you've got a robust plan about how to engage, but for the general public, for the average Muhammad, the average Khadija, how can they kind of engage, and why is it important that they should engage?
It's essential that we engage. We're as we discussed and we touched upon earlier, the world is changing. This time last year, if I told you, brother Ismail, Leicester City were going to win the Premiership, you would have laughed at me. And if I said to you that wasn't going to be the most amazing thing that happened in the last 12 months, you would have thought, what can be more crazy than that? Where today we have a man who wants to label and have a register for Muslims, who wants to build a wall between countries, who says derogatory things about women as the most powerful man in the world. We were part of Europe 12 months ago, and there was nobody would have suspected that Nigel Farage and his crew would be taking us out of Brexit, taking us out of Europe. So the world is changing. And what happens in these things with this man, sometimes when we live in a city like Leicester, or as some people like to call it, Leicester Sharif, we're very, very fortunate. We have a masajid in every corner. We have so many esteemed scholars that more than one, to have one in a city, but we have 3 or 4 that people travel around the world, across the world to meet. So you can become complacent.
Absolutely.
But people who are listening at home, we know what's happening in the press. We know these attacks on Muslims. We'll go through some facts and figures later if people weren't aware. It is essential that we engage, because people's minds are being changed by the media. There's a small but very powerful left-wing think tank which creates a lot of negative media.
Absolutely.
And it puts in the mind of people that Muslims are a problem. We have, as you said before, it was just the color of your skin. Now they have isolated it. It's not Asian, it's Muslims.
Yes.
It's not the ethnic minority, it's the Muslim community. So it's a problem. And that is why we have to engage with the media. Now, how do we engage with the media? We read something. And as I said before, we can become very angry, we can become very passionate. But if we don't have the tools to respond in a coherent manner, and we send a letter or the verbal anger at the wrong person.
Like an abusive letter. It's not
abusive, even if it's a passionate one.
Yeah.
You send it to the wrong person, they'll say thank you very much, and then throw it in the bin.
Yeah.
It will not have any effect. I remember speaking to the QC of the government, David Anderson, who was the government's advisor on counter-terrorism. And he was talking about a incident where a Muslim family was chucked out of a plane for no reason,
Yes.
but they were Muslims. And he was very upset about the situation. And he said to me there was about 46,000 or 47,000 Facebook posts, but there was only 4 letters of complaint to the appropriate place.
This is the thing. I mean, there's been countless amount of times, if I talk about my own experiences as well, there's been countless amount of times when I'm listening to the radio and I'm fuming in the car. People probably think I'm a madman sitting in the car, screaming at the radio. Or I'll read an article and it really, really bugs me to think that people are actually thinking in this way about members of our community, the Muslim community. And you're right, that sometimes, that rant, that conversation in the heat of the moment, diverts attention away from the root cause, and we can be a lot more effective. I think the Muslim community are asleep. I think we're kind of sleepwalking into more and more problems, and we can't brush things under the carpet.
We can't do. We have a phenomenal number of people here.
Yeah.
We have a phenomenal number of educated people here. We have a phenomenal number of wealthy people here. All we need to do is get united and take on the system, and not in an illegitimate way, but in a completely legitimate way, and speak the language that they speak. And that is what will make changes with the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As Muslims, we do not give up hope. You see, it may feel today that, other people are in control, but what have we done? What have we done to make changes to the Muslim community?
Absolutely. And the thing
for the Muslim community.
No, absolutely. And the thing is, when you talk about the fact that we have such a good setup here in Leicester, somebody that grew up in Leicester and then moved away, I've come back after almost 20 years, 25 years. So I've seen a remarkable change. I was here when the masjids we had were factories, big holes in, for example, if I talk about Masjid Al-Falah, that was a factory, and things have changed. But I think that you're right, that we've become complacent as a community, certainly in Leicester, that we sit back, we see all of this kind of luxuries that we have in terms of masjid on every corner, and sometimes it makes us take our eye off the ball.
Absolutely.
It is important that we have a conversation locally. People are talking, lots of people. We always are discussing news events, what's going on in America, what's happening in Europe, right the way across Europe. There is a big rise in this Islamophobia.
Absolute rise. And what we have to be is we have to try our best to stop becoming reactive. Absolutely. We have to become proactive. So there's a discussion today on ITV. I think it was somebody sent it to me, whether they should ban the burqa in this country.
Yes.
So this is a mainstream television program or channel discussing whether they should ban the burqa. France, which is a stone throws away, has already banned the burqa. Yeah. That is not far. People can swim across to this country.
Absolutely.
If we think in this country, if we do not do anything, they're going to let us continue. Absolutely.
And the thing is that when you look at this rise in Islamophobia, it seems to be the women that are getting the brunt of the attacks. Most of the very, very abhorrent attacks, both physical and verbal, are actually women.
Absolutely. Of the attacks that happen to women, of all the attacks that happen to women in this country, 71% of them are Muslim women.
Oh my goodness me.
71%. And because they're more visibly Muslim, they have the hijab, yes. They have the niqab, and there's constant incidences every week of a hijab being pulled off, of a verbal abuse. In fact, it was very interesting. I was talking to some of the sisters in my team who held a bullying event very recently, a workshop, and one of the sisters told them that, what do you want me to do about it? It happens so often If every time I rang up the police, I got verbally abused for wearing a niqab, that's all I'd be doing. So it's on the rise. It's absolutely on the rise.
So a quick message out to any of my sisters that are listening out there. It's important that you guys call in. If there is something that you can share some experiences for yourself. If there's any advice that you need, then do call us in. The number here is 0116 462 2506. The WhatsApp or text number here also is 07510 769997. As Brother Shokir is saying, that we have to have a conversation here. We have to sit down as a community, both individually as families as well, but in a wider audience as well. And we can't always leave it to somebody else to do something about it. We sometimes have to stand up for ourselves. You're going to have to get up off your comfortable chairs and make an effort to go and sit in these circles and talk about this thing and make it known that we're doing something about it. We're a strong community here in Leicester in particular. We can have a real strong voice, just in the same way that we are a beacon for other cities in terms of the Islamic work that we do here. The fact that, alhamdulillah, we churn out hufaz and alimas and hafizas and halims and hafizis through our madrasas and maktabs. In the same way, we can also be a beacon for standing up for the rights of Muslims, talking about and challenging where there is clearly an unfair, a biased reporting of Muslims. But we really need to take action. We can't really sit back all along, and we're in a time where we're fast running out of time. So if there's anybody that wants to give us a call in, please do call us in. I think I have a call on the line now. Can I just take this? Hello, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah, sister. How are you? Okay?
Alhamdulillah, yes, brother.
So,
I would just like to make a few comments on the topic that's being raised today.
Yes.
Alhamdulillah, really, really good topic. You're covering quite a lot of things, the issues that the Muslims are facing in today's world.
Yes.
But I've just got a few things that I'd like to add regarding how we can help our children who want to defend themselves.
Yeah.
And maybe you could put, maybe you can put it out to people who can have classes running for self-defense or something for our children. It's not us going to teach our children to go and fight, but they should be able to defend themselves.
Absolutely, sister. I think you're quite right. I mean, in Leicester in particular, on the issue of self-defense classes and being able to kind of defend yourself, there's lots of classes that take place, but there's nothing really specific for girls.
There's actually nothing for women.
Yeah.
Now, I myself, I've got 3 girls, I've got boys.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of things available for men and boys, but where does it leave us? Because it's us that are being targeted.
Absolutely. And I think, look, it's important, sister, that look, if you're in Leicester, if there is a club nearby that offer men's martial arts classes or self-defense classes, then it's important to actually approach them and say to them, look, you need to put something up for sisters. You're not going to be the only one that's thinking like this. As a parent myself, I'm also thinking the same thing for my daughters. I'm sure Shaukat here, although his daughter's quite young, but it is important that they self-defense classes are not just about being able to defend yourself, but it's about breeding confidence in them as well. Being able to
discipline and confidence. My 10-year-old actually does kickboxing. So.
Oh, mashallah, mashallah. So there you go, sister. Look, you the 10-year-old. That's your daughter, right?
Yeah.
If you don't mind me asking, you can plug the place where she goes.
She goes to CKI.
CKI, yeah, mashallah.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and where is that exactly?
Is that Everton Valley Road?
Everton Valley.
Yeah.
Everton Valley Road. Oh, I think I've just lost the sister there. Yeah. So I'm malfunctioning here. Udaifa, sorry, can I get you to come in for a second? Yeah, for some reason that's just fallen out from there.
So and that's a point of concern for people that, so alhamdulillah, but you made a good point. It breeds a lot of confidence, and inshallah it's quite important. It's a very important point, especially for sisters.
Yeah, and the thing is that, obviously our daughters need it as well, but sisters as well, and I think, sorry, I've got another caller on the line. Hello, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Hello, can you hear me?
Hello, sorry, yes, I think we just got cut
Yeah, sorry,
off.
sister, I thought it was me. I must have pressed the wrong button or something. Apologies for that. So, sister, we were just talking to Shaukat, who is from the Leicester branch of MEND. In terms of your self-defense classes, his daughter actually attends a local gym where she does martial arts. It's the
CKI.
CKI.
It's on Evington Valley Road.
And it's on
But it depends. They're for much younger children.
Yeah.
Whether they do it for adult teenagers, I'm not 100% sure.
but I
But
think-
I'm sure there will be places that do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I was saying, sister, look, at the end of the day, if you, being a woman, being in Leicester, if you don't approach these centres and ask for the service, you may not get it.
It's not just about Leicester. I think this problem is for everywhere, and this is where we all come together as an ummah, as Muslims, to be able to provide this sort of facility for our sisters.
Yeah, absolutely. You're spot on, and I think that you just coming onto the radio and talking about this as a parent will make so many other sisters understand that they're not the only ones thinking this way. That many parents are in the same situation. We're all thinking the same thing, both in terms of self-defense, looking after us, and that can also take the form of actually debate as well, sister. Like MEND, they have a branch here in Leicester. It is important that you give them a call. You understand they do some fantastic work on bullying and these kind of things, and that can sometimes open up an avenue.
And I would like to touch up on the bullying issue as well. I mean, I've had friends whose kids have been bullied regarding because of their religion, and we should be able to come together, discuss these things, and like the platform you've got, maybe have sisters there, maybe get people to ring in, because there are mums, there are people out there who don't know how to deal with this situation.
Absolutely.
I mean, for me, as a mother, I like to speak to my children when they come back from school. How was their day? What's happened? How you can tell the behavior of your children sometimes when they start becoming more quiet, when they start becoming more reserved.
Absolutely.
In January, inshallah, in January, we're going to be having a program in the City Retreat, which is the institute in town centre. And alhamdulillah, we're going to be doing a workshop on bullying, how to deal with it, what to do, and we'll also have the police there from the hate crime department, who will be explaining if children are being bullied, or indeed if adults, and we'll be spreading out to Islamophobia attacks as well, and what to do and who to contact as well, inshallah. So if
because I do feel that the schools are brushing it under the carpet.
Yeah.
So how can we tackle this head on, to say, because if you look at the recent incident that you've just discussed about this little boy, maybe the mother had no idea what was going on, and for something like this to happen, I don't know, how she must be feeling, and I don't see any other parent should go through this.
Absolutely. Alhamdulillah, up north, MEND at the moment are trialling teaching teachers to spot signs of bullying due to Islamophobia. So we've done it in a few schools in Leeds, but with working with children, we're working with the government, we have to get it perfect before we can roll it out to the rest of the country. Absolutely. So like people are taught at school that it's wrong to hate black people, that it's wrong to hate Jewish people, soon inshallah we're going to have a program that all the teachers will be taught it's wrong to hate Muslim people as well. So alhamdulillah, look out in the future, inshallah next year that should be rolled out nationally, inshallah. Just make dua for that one.
Inshallah. Okay, my sister, thank you very much for calling in. Stay tuned. Please let your circles, your friends and family know about the show. We're talking about some very hot topics.
You're doing a very, very good job, and alhamdulillah, you are currently covering the topics that there is an issue about, and I'm really, really happy about. Keep up the good work.
Jazakallah khair, sister. Your duas are most appreciated. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Yeah, so listeners, alhamdulillah, you had a sister on the line. She's probably talking, she's discussing the concerns that most parents probably have in regards to bullying, in regards to building some confidence for them as well. So yeah, I mean, you can give us a call in at 0116 462 2506. So Brother Shaukat, we were just talking about, before we got the call, we were talking about the importance of engaging with the media and the politics. How do we engage with the MPs? I mean, I've before the elections that took place here a little while ago, we try to get the politicians in, but sometimes, it's like they do a vanishing act. They don't really...
Yes, I mean, politicians is one of is amazing. MEND works on a national level and on a local level. So what we do is we organise hustings. We engage with our local medias, local councillors, etc., and then we set things up between the politicians and the community.
Fantastic.
So recently, the big one that we did in Leicester was with the PCC election. which was apparently a nailed-on Conservative victory. So I'm not sure if you're aware, but the Labour candidate won, Lord Willie Back, and we had a quite, mashallah, successful event held in Highfields. And a lot of questions were raised by the community, a lot of concerns like Islamophobia, recording hate crime, recording Islamophobia as a separate entity. And mashallah, he came through. At election times, we have our own manifesto, and we send it to every single candidate. And we list down the concerns of the Muslim community. And then we make them sign a pledge. Once they've done that, we send that out to the community. So we don't tell the community who to vote for, but we say that this MP, this member, or this candidate, has agreed to do this X, Y, and Z for the Muslim community, and then you can make the active choice.
And that's a very, very important point that you've touched on in terms of actually sitting down with the MPs and putting kind of a spotlight on them as to look what you're going to do for our community.
Because when it's election time, they would sell their mums.
Absolutely.
They will sell their grandmas for that. And a very famous case that, not the local, but nationally, we did in Blackburn, Jack Straw.
Yes.
I don't know if you recall, he said he won't allow, or he will not see women in niqab in his clinics.
I remember that, yes.
He said that. So, alhamdulillah, men organised hustings. Hustings is where all the MPs get together and the community are called to ask questions. Yeah. And at the hustings in Blackburn, just before election, the men organiser asked Mr. Straw that, will you renounce what you said about not seeing women in niqab, because you have offended so many people? This is your constituency sitting in front of you. 90% are Muslims. Will you or will you not see women in niqab? There and then, he said, I will see women in niqab.
Yeah, of course. And the bottom line is, it's about numbers for them. It's a numbers game.
Absolutely.
But if we're not going to be engaged, if we're not going to be on top of it, if we're not going to take serious, the EU vote is a prime example.
Absolutely.
How many Muslims actually came out and voted on that?
We worked actually very hard. We drew up the manifesto. We sent out lots and lots of information, lots and lots of YouTube clips of why it was the pros and cons. It was a broad issue. There was economics issue, but as a Muslim, specific issues, what would have been the benefits of staying in the European Union as compared to not? Allah knows best what's going to happen in the future. But for us, we saw it was more positive to be in than out.
Absolutely.
And alhamdulillah, we worked very hard. And to these politicians are accessible. It's easy to go to. All we need to do is organise it. It's very easy to visit the House of Commons. Alhamdulillah, we're a lobbying group, so we always go into the House of Commons. We go to the House of Lords. We present the issues about the Muslim community on a national level, but on a local level, we get to know our MPs. We create links to MPs. So then we tell the MP that last week, MEND or any Muslim organisation, we had a meeting with 200 ulama. Yes. They will listen to what you have to say, because as you say, it's a numbers game. It's just learning how to do it.
And it's about starting something and making sure that we stick to it. In the same way that when we talk about Leicester, if the effort by our elders to build the masjids and get out there and do the effort, if that was just a part-time job, if that was they did it for a few months and stopped, nothing would have been here. We wouldn't even be calling Leicester Sharif, and people would not be flocking to this part of the world from all over the world. And it was because of that consistent effort put in. The effort that was put in by the elders, and we need to do the same thing, not only for ourselves but also for our kids. If we're going to engage politicians at this moment in time, if we're going to be talking to them, if we're going to be discussing things that concern us, our children will be able to pick up on that. They'll be able to get the confidence to be able to sit down and discuss these things, and they may be able to take that at a lower level inside their schools and actually put it on the table. That, look, these are issues concerning my friends, these are issues that are concerning me, and therefore bringing them out from their shells and heading this on head on, rather than kind of burying our head.
Absolutely, it's a concerted effort. It's children we've touched upon. As an organisation, we realise the importance of children. Hence, why we work in schools. They are our generation. They are our future. And we also touched upon the amount of hate crimes against Muslim. I didn't mention majority of them were carried out by children.
Oh my goodness!
Between the ages of 13 and 18. So we have a generation of children growing up in this country who hate Muslims.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's the thing.
So we need to reverse that very soon.
And for these kids that are carrying out this hate crime, if you're being pumped with
absolutely, it's not their fault. They're being brainwashed.
you know, we are told to look out for signs for brainwashing and so and so forth in our own communities. But you know, it's happening right under the nose on a national level, and in a greater, wider community, people are being brainwashed into creating this hate and
The
division.
far right crimes far outweigh any crimes committed by anybody else.
We only have to go as far as looking at the killing of the MP Joe Cox. I mean, that was appalling.
It was heartbreaking and appalling.
You know, it's something that you would never have dreamt to have seen in the UK, and in such a horrific, cold manner, and only because of what she stood for.
And she was one woman that defended Muslims and Islamic causes probably more than any other politician.
And the thing is, you know, when we talk about Islamic causes, I wouldn't say it's for the benefit of Muslims generally. You know, the issue about immigration, the issue facing people that are you know, at the mercy of people at this moment in time. You know, in terms of charity, in terms of what's going on in Syria, these immigrants are not coming. These people are not coming to this country for a better life. They're coming to save their life. You know, it's the bare simple fact. Nobody's going to put. You know, you're a parent. I'm a parent. Nobody's going to go through the dangers of putting your young children into a rubber dinghy and, you know, trying to get.
Absolutely, people are very desperate.
You know, these are desperate times. So
I mean, just going back onto the children and how this all links in is that when we're talking about the media, the statistic by the Oxford Press, or a study paper by the Oxford Press in 2011, saying that every time a positive story about Muslim appears in the newspaper, it's counterbalanced by 21 negative stories.
Oh my God.
So if people who have never met a Muslim or know a Muslim read 21 negative things, say I've never met you and I've heard 21 bad things about you, and one good thing, it's human nature. It's human nature.
Absolutely. You're going to make a judgment.
So that's why when we said why we have to engage with the media, why we have to engage at school level, why we have to engage with our politicians, because legislation is changing. Went recently to an event with the ulama earlier this part of this year, which was regarding a law that is going to be passed about safeguarding our madrasas. Alhamdulillah, it was packed. The passing of this law was initially discussed a year and a half ago.
Wow.
So we have to be aware when it's happening until it passes.
Exactly.
So now this is not for everybody. Everybody can't keep their ears to the ground. But if we can use a facility like an organization like MEND and know, then we can nip this thing in the bud, or we can become part of the conversation and dictate what things should happen. Going back to what I said earlier, instead of being reactionary, we have to be proactive.
All right, guys, it's coming up to 9:15. We're in the last leg of the show. I also wanted to quickly touch on charity and different ways in what people are doing nowadays to raise funds. You know, there's never been a greater time to give in charity. I think whilst there's so much good going on in the world, there is a lot of need as well. There's a lot of people that are out there in desperate times. So if you've got any fantastic stories about your charity events, if you've got anything that you've done that help bring awareness to any particular charity cause, then, you know, give us a call. Drop a call into to the studio on 0116 462 2506, or send us a text. Let us know what you've done, what is unique about your event, and how did it make you feel. Also, I wanted to finish off with Shocker as well, brother. I just wanted to ask you that in terms of the Muslim community, how can we kind of support men? How can we get involved with MEND?
We can support MEND in a multifaceted level. Just talking about charity, just say that MEND is a 100% community funded organisation. We're not a registered charity, because you may understand the type of work we do. We cannot come under any influence. We also don't take a penny from the government. Now, in this city or in this country or people around the world, they find it very easy to donate to a tangible. So if we're building a masjid, if we're building a wudu khana or a chandelier in a mosque, people will donate because they can see what their money is going to.
Absolutely.
But what we have failed as a community is to support organizations which keep all these other establishments from running. So I usually give an example to people is that you can't see oxygen, but it's essential.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, as a community, we don't tend to donate to things that we cannot see, but yet are essential. So many charities are shutting down.
Yeah.
Mr. Cameron, in his speech last year, said he will be shutting down madrasas.
Yeah.
So all these buildings that we are seeing today, all the charity organizations that we're doing, all these good work, with changes in the language in the government that are using, they can shut down.
And it is becoming more and more bold. I mean, some
It
of the
is.
comments that are coming out, you would not have dreamt of these people saying these kind of things only a few years ago.
12 months ago.
Yeah, so I mean, there is a big shift in the way that the people are talking, in the way that they're thinking, and I would honestly put it down to the fact that in a way I would put more onus on ourselves as a Muslim community, because we've kind of slept through it all.
Yeah.
It is important that we wake up, and an organization like MEND, I think is paramount for the Muslim community. A nationwide organization with a coherent message that they want to send out. They're consistent in the way that they deliver that message. You know, they engage with various communities, various organizations, both at a national level and an international level. And I think it's vital that, you know, sometimes, you know, these kind of facilities and these kind of support networks that we have around us, you know, we have to use it, you know, and a simple phone call, you know, dropping them an email, just getting some a little bit of information can really open up things for ourselves as well.
Yeah, if you go onto our website, which is alhamdulillah.mend.org.uk, on a locally, I can call out the number of our area manager, inshallah. What we ask for locally is to just join our working group. We have all volunteers, alhamdulillah. We meet once a month for a couple of hours, and we see what we need to do for the following month.
Super. So just tell me, so Shakir, on that, just tell me your next meeting. When's the next meeting?
The next meeting, usually, alhamdulillah, we have on the first Monday of the month.
First
Monday of the month, we meet and we discuss. We have sisters. We're non-partisan, people from every section of the Muslim community. So we're not aligned to one particular group. Everybody is welcome. Brothers, sisters, young and elderly. Alhamdulillah, we have a sister who comes regularly, who's in, I hope she doesn't mind me saying this, but I think she's about 70. And we have 17-year-olds. Because we have a student team, because students are very important, university, colleges, etc. We have a masjid team, people who engage with the ulama, people who engage with the musallis or the masajid. We have a politics team, people who are more interested in politics, they want to engage with the politicians, they want to engage with the councillors. We have a sisters team who attend coffee mornings that sisters have, discussing these problems and the issues about bullying and things that may affect it. We have a fundraising team as well. So we have different teams. We have an events team, because we do a lot of events, so people have their skill sets. So I'm sure our Muslim community is extremely talented. And until you come out to these things, you don't know these hidden talents and hidden gems that you have. And we're looking for people. So if you contact us, we will find something for you to do as little and as much as you want to do.
So Brother Shakir has already given the website address, which is mend, MEND.org.uk. But we have other means. You can even Facebook them. You can search for them on Facebook, or in fact you can just Google them or use any other social media platform to find them. And it is important, just pop yourself along to one of the meetings. If in between this period and your next meeting, which is a few weeks away, going into the new year, if somebody wanted to get in touch with you beforehand, a quick phone call.
A quick phone call. I can call out a number for our area manager. If you speak to him, he'll definitely get you in touch.
Is it a national line number?
No. It's a mobile number.
So what we'll do is that if you give us the details, we'll put it onto our Facebook page, and that don't give it out on there. But yes, I mean, surprisingly, the hour's gone very, very quickly. We're in the last 10 minutes. If there's any questions that you want to put to Brother Shaukat, I mean, it's very, very knowledgeable. It's very, very important that you seize the opportunity to talk to brothers who understand what's happening in the community on a national level, and it opens up a lot more understanding, even for myself. I mean, sitting here listening to the work that men do, I'll certainly be popping along to their next meeting. I think it's vital as a parent. I think it's vital as somebody elder within the community, and I think it's also vital as a Muslim that you take part in these workshops. Just get a little idea about what we can do locally.
We do two fantastic workshops that I would ask people to come along to. One is a media workshop and one is a politics workshop. So it's about half a day, and we teach people exactly, as we were mentioning earlier, how to deal with the media, who to respond to. And in front of you, you've got this fantastic little bookshop, little workbook, which has the details of every single media outlet in this country that we can write to, call in, text, etc. But we need to know how to do it. So become effective. Alhamdulillah. So we do a half a day that, and we also do a politics workshop. How to engage with politicians, how to engage with our legislation makers, and it's just half a day workshop. And the amount of skills you'll gain from that will be amazing. And if we can all do that and get united when an incident happened, if I just give you one success story of MEND, I don't know if earlier this year you read last year now, where the Sun had a front page headline of 1 in 5 Muslims support jihad.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
it was horrendous, and they had a picture of a gentleman holding a knife, just in case you didn't know what a jihadi looked like.
Yeah.
And then it was a completely false premise. The poll was done with prerequisite people that they already knew what they thought, and it was completely misinformation. And Mend, alhamdulillah, through Mend, lots of people complained, but Ipso made Sun apologise, which was a complete result. The first time in their history they've actually apologised about something. Admittedly, we've got work to do. It was on page 2. We would have preferred it on page 1, but we've still got some time left.
And the thing is, for a very long time, I actually thought that these newspapers were doing these things really just to affect us. But to be honest, when I think about it in a little bit more detail, they know that this is going to sell. And the vast majority of people that read them are getting hoodwinked into parting with their money, and they know that we're going to splash this big headline out, all these mugs are going to come out, buy a newspaper, and we're going to make millions, and then they'll retract it a couple of weeks later. We know the cycle of it, but I think it is important that we are able to engage with them.
They need to know that we're not going to let them get away with
exactly.
it.
We can't sit by.
We can't let them. If we give them 50, 60, 70, 100, 200, 300,000 complaints, legitimate complaints to Ipso or to themselves, and they're breaking their own code of ethics, then they have to apologise, and then we will sue them if we have to. And that we hit them where it hurts and affect their readership. Because it's going on for too long, and we have to really take a coherent, as you say, and alhamdulillah, Mend is a very good platform for us to do that.
Yeah, brothers, I mean, look, I know when we hear about stories about sisters having the hijab pulled off or being verbally abused on the network system, we're fuming, we get very, very annoyed, we get quite upset with this, but this is a practical way of being able to do something about it, rather than just ranting and raving, at the radio or just screaming and shouting. This is a much better way of making your voice being heard. If we're all doing it, sometimes you think that it's only me. I'm the only one that's ringing up. I'm the only one complaining. But if that spreads out to 5 or 6 people within your circle, then that can amount to several thousand people making a complaint, and that makes a big difference. Anybody that's getting this level of complaints, if they're getting hundreds of thousands of complaints coming in for what somebody's done, they're going to have to do something about it. And we have to wake up and understand that this is a peaceful way of protesting all the injustices that are taking place everywhere. And I think it's really, really important that we actually engage. Mend has come across really, really well. Brothers, we're in the last 5 or 6 minutes of the show. If anybody wants to call in and have a little bit more of a discussion, please do call in. Let's have a little chat about it. And this is a lot of the people are volunteers. We heard at the beginning of the show, Brother Shokut and his team, some of them are volunteering in there, and they're taking the time and effort out to make lives better, to hold people accountable, and we should all spend a little bit of time. It's not, nobody's talking about giving up your day job or anything like that.
No, this is all done by volunteers, alhamdulillah. It's in the evenings and during our spare time, because it's vital for our existence in this country in the present moment.
Absolutely. And the thing is, look, some people might have a little bit more time on their hands than others. I don't think there's ever a situation where people will say, no, you have to spend a minimum of time or anything like that. Whatever time you've got, and if that is a 5 or 10 minute hole that you have in your full busy schedule, even that can make a difference. Sometimes just people turning up makes a huge difference. It's really, really important that we get involved.
It's very important. You can support us as well in terms of, we give presentations at masajids. If you want to support us in that way, that'd be fantastic, so our message gets across, so more and more people know what to do. At centres, at day centres, at social centres, alhamdulillah, we can come in. It's a very it's not a politically charged presentation at all. It's a very neutral, it's just very inclusive, and it gives people the idea of exactly what's going on and what to do. So that would be a very good way of spreading what we are doing, and inshallah helping other Muslims as well.
Inshallah. Brother Shaukat, you've been absolutely fantastic. It's been a
Jazakallah
pleasure
khair
to have you on the show. I think you guys are doing a fantastic job.
Jazakallah, just pray for us, inshallah.
No, inshallah, Allah Ta'ala make it easy for you.
Ameen.
Allah Ta'ala give you the strength and give you the resources to stand up for the Muslim community. You're doing a marvellous job. Everybody involved at Mend, I would like to personally send a message out to them. If you can get a message out to them,
I will do.
I think it's a remarkable job that all of you are doing. You've certainly sold it to me. I'm certainly going to try and make the time so I can volunteer some of my own time to get involved. If not for anything else, for my own kids. And I think that everybody out there that's listening, I think we should have the same thinking. If nothing else, make dua for everybody at Mend. Allah Ta'ala make it easy for them.
Ameen.
Allah Ta'ala make their job simple. and make their voices heard, inshallah. You know, Jazakallah khair for tuning in. It's been an absolute pleasure. I can't believe the hour's gone by so quickly. We were thinking what we were going to be talking about, but alhamdulillah, the hour's gone by very, very quickly. My name is Ismail Sakrani. You've been listening to Munadil Islam here in Leicester. I want to switch off by saying Jazakallah khair for listening, Brother Shaukat.
Assalamu alaikum to all the listeners at home. Jazakallah, as Brother Ismail says. Please do remember us in your du'as and try to support us as much as you can. Jazakallah khairan.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wash all the filth away and change my dead heart. Make me alive again. Give me a fresh start. So change my heart, please. Wash the filth away.